Welcome to Billion Dollar Napkin, where we discover how some of Australia's brightest startups prove that their creative, innovative, impactful ideas were possible. You'll hear about the triumphs, the failures, and the pivots. Everything from their early beginnings through to how they got things made. 3 drinks, please.
I think our first month of revenue was $80.
That was the result of 13 or 12 months' work as well.
Literally sitting there at the dinner table on date night doing customer support chats with your girlfriend, like absolutely death staring at you.
In this, the first episode of Billion Dollar Napkin, we'll chat to Alex and Angus from Brisbane-based crypto platform Swyftx. Find out what it's like to go from an $80 income to signing a $1.5 billion deal. How important is culture in an organisation like Swyftx? And is Brisbane really the new Silicon Valley? All that and more in Billion Dollar Napkin. Alex, Angus, thanks for joining me on Billion Dollar Napkin.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Hey Adam, thanks for having us, mate.
Who's got napkin drawing duties out of the two of you?
That'd be yours truly over here.
Why
Look
is that,
forward
Alex?
to
Are
it.
you the more artistic one of the two?
I think we're both actually probably the least artistic people on the planet. We do work in tech, but we did go to Steiner schools and we did lots of creativity there. So this is where we'll make our teachers very proud.
Let's put that creativity to the test. Show me the Swyftx $1 billion napkin.
All right. So I guess with traditional banking, you need to when you need to pay someone, you have to use a bank as the intermediary. The big appeal about crypto and specifically Bitcoin is you can actually transact without that intermediary. So the network itself secures the transactions, which means two people can transact, and that's going to be particularly important for developing nations that they don't have these sort of centralized banking systems.
So where does Swyftx come into people trading crypto?
Yeah, well, right now here in Australia, if you want to buy Bitcoin and invest in the currency, you sign up to Swyftx, you deposit your traditional Australian dollars into the account, and then you can pick from any of the 300 different coins that we have on there. You can invest in them, and then we'll put them into the wallet for you that's built into the platform, or you can then take them and put them in your own wallet.
You are the device that's helping millions of people around the world get on the crypto thing.
That's exactly right.
Swyftx was not your first journey into crypto, was it, Angus? You toyed with something else?
That's correct, yeah. So I got into crypto about 2014, and at the time there was a couple of projects flying around, and I was quite technical and ended up getting a contract working freelance for this cryptocurrency called Opalcoin, and essentially they were looking to build out a marketplace that was really tightly integrated into their coin itself. So you could jump on that. It was like the Gumtree equivalent. Jump on that and you could trade. It could be books, or you could download music that a freelance producer had developed, that kind of stuff. And yeah.
Alex, well before Angus was earning his business chops, tell us about Juice on the Loose.
Juice on the Loose. How did I know you're going to bring that up?
I've done my homework. Juice on the Loose. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Look, I think my grandparents were into business a lot, and they had 9 to 10 stores back in the day, and so I guess it runs in the family a little bit in terms of being entrepreneurial. My other grandparents build and sell Jabiru aircraft, so light support aircraft up in Bundy, and I was about 10 and sort of went and set up a fruit juice stand at the local markets, and I think I used to make $80 of profit for 12 hours grinding away on the juicer, and that was without paying for Dad and his time. But that was sort of where I got started, and then I think the novelty for my father wore off of the 4 a.m. mornings. Kind of got a bit sick of that. So when I got a bit older, pretty much stole his tractor and started mowing lawns for the neighbours and whatnot. He did charge me maintenance fees for that, so couldn't get that one past him, unfortunately. From there, started on the push bike, going around to in the neighbourhood, dropping leaflets off, and I tell you what, Dad wanted to charge me to use his printer for my leaflets.
So you've understood the full on costs of operating a business right from the start, yeah?
Tell you what, I absolutely hated them for it, but it was a very valuable lesson. It taught us that nothing in life is free, and that it's all about the hustle. So I used to go and print my flyers at school because it was free there. So very, very important lessons.
I love this. So you have this natural entrepreneurial bent. You've got the tech side, but you're also quite techie yourself in some ways, because am I right that you met at a sort of summer computing school at the University of Sydney. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it was a course, and essentially brought together 100 or 150 year 11 students together and put us together for 2 weeks. And there was all sorts of challenges, building a website, getting Roombas to do rescue operations and all this kind of jazz. And we happened to be roommates. And so there we were, two kind of, I guess, nerds. And looking at each other and going, well, hello.
So randomly selected to room together out of 150 people at a summer school.
Yeah.
We've never actually clarified it because we do go to the same school, but in different states. So, but they weren't really connected.
They might have said, "Let's put the Steiner school kids together."
Yeah. They could be friends or something. I don't know. But it was by chance. I think to say Angus that we're both techie is probably very complimentary to me and maybe an insult to Angus, but Angus is the super brains when it comes to the tech, and I'm pretty sure that I submitted a WordPress website as my coding project to get into the thing. So I don't know how I got in, but I did.
Even within that summer school, you're rooming together doing all these projects. Did the idea for Swyftx bubble up as early as that, or at least was there just a general, hey, we should work together on something vibe at that stage?
I think at that stage it was just purely friendship. Like, had a lot of aligned interests, as Alex mentioned. We went to the same category of school, all into the tech. It was very, just aligned. And but it wasn't until 6 years later that we kind of started to understand the problem in the crypto markets, and we're like, being tech guys, problems means find a solution for it.
This computer school is year 11, going into year 12. But in terms of going into year 12, did both of you go into year 12?
That's another loaded question. I defer.
So I did grade 12, and I did a couple of years of uni. I was doing mechatronics and robotics. It was a bit of an interest, but wasn't something that really grasped me and held me there. So I deferred for 1 year and deferred a second year, and apparently that becomes then permanent after that. So I didn't actually finish uni on that side.
But am I right, Alex, that after the year 11 summer computing camp, you didn't go back to year 12?
I started year 12 for a couple of weeks, and sort of just decided, I had my IT business running on the side. I was teaching myself to code. I was sort of just getting out there, getting it done. I had a few of my mates working for me, and I sort of thought, look, I'm never going to go to uni. I'm never going to work for anyone else. I think I might have had a part-time job at Woolies still at the time as a scanner man on Sundays, so from there I basically I just started a TAFE course for business. So I finished up early year 12, did a TAFE course. Read all the content, but did none of the called the exam, the exams and the assessments.
Seems to be. I'm spotting a theme here. But keep going.
Yeah. So I reapplied because there was a returning year for the camp down in Sydney, and I think you still technically were supposed to be at school, but they didn't ask, and so I managed to sneak in. So but we actually sponsor it now, so we're sponsors of the
that's beautiful.
program.
Yep.
You sponsor the computer science camp where you guys met.
Yep.
Yes, and actually
and in parallel we've spun up our own boot camp, our own. So we bring in pre-grads and people looking to move into the industry shortly, and give them a 2-week taster of life at Swyftx. They get to go through challenges, work with our engineering staff, and on all these kind of exciting things. And
so where did the idea for Swyftx come from? I can imagine a couple of guys of your age with your interests looking at crypto. You've already had a look at that, going, there's something here. This is interesting. Not everyone's on board with it. We're on board with this. But to choose to build an exchange, am I right in saying that's a pretty brave play in the space? You could have gone for something smaller that was still genuinely crypto. Where did the idea for actually, no, let's build the platform that facilitates everyone else?
Early 2017, I hit up Angus. I saw the price of Bitcoin going up, and I thought, look, this all makes sense. Obviously, I've got a bit of a tech background, and so I spoke to Angus and started actually buying cryptocurrency with the support of him. He sort of showed me the ropes, which was really awesome. And then I was sort of complaining to him. I'm like, why is the price of Bitcoin every time I Google it online like way less than the price that I'm paying for it in Australia? And that's sort of when big brain Angus over here goes, well, let's just buy it overseas and sell it in Australia at a cheaper price. And I was like, that doesn't check out. Like, that's free money, and one thing I've not been taught my whole life is there's no such thing as free money.
The guy used to pay for the printer toner at home.
Yeah.
I'm onto something. This could not be. It's too good to be true.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it turns out it is actually a thing. It's called arbitrage, and it's where there's a difference in price between two different markets. It happens in all different markets. It's not unique to crypto, but particularly like it was very prevalent in crypto because it was a very young market back in sort of 2017. And so that was sort of actually where we made our seed capital for bootstrapping Swyftx.
For people listening who don't know, bootstrapping is basically when you choose to fund something yourself or from a small group of people you know, as opposed to asking investors, do you want to take a part of the action and fund us, yeah?
Yep. You want to talk about the decision process of what to do with the money?
Yeah. So we'd been going out for 3 or 4 or 5 months or something like that, and we were kind of looking at it like, geez, this is almost a deposit for a house, you know. I wonder if okay. And then we were like, well, hang on, we've actually identified a problem here, and we were like, okay, house, sure, yeah. Can we start a business, and can we solve the problem that we were facing, and I guess be a bit more altruistic in terms of offering that benefit back to, well, Australians, but also the wider market. And so we were like, let's do it. Let's quit our jobs. And
let's get a bit techie here. What was the nature of the problem? What was the nature of the solve that was needed to allow thousands and now millions of people to trade in these cryptocurrencies?
So the fundamental problem is that cryptocurrencies aren't centralized, which is that's why people love them, but it's also a negative for them. So when you've got isolated markets, the pricing in one market will be different to another market, and you need to kind of equalize those. And typically that was people more in the know and not your average investor and those kind of people. So the vast majority of people weren't aware of that. And so we then, along the lines of trying to solve the solution or find a solution to the problem, we're like, okay, can we bring these markets together? Bring it under a single kind of interface, i.e. like Swyftx is now, a brokerage where you can go and access global liquidity from the comfort of an Australian company or local support and that kind of stuff, and that's what we've achieved so far.
That is one of the biggest problems for new people getting into crypto, is that it is really technical and can be quite confusing. So we are Australia's top rated exchange. We have over 600,000 customers on our platform now, and we are very heavily stacked in customer support. So we care a lot about our customers, supporting them, educating them, and building a platform for them that's simple and easy.
Brisbane is the home of Swyftx. Is that slightly unusual in the startup scene, the tech scene in Australia? And what's the advantage of being in Brizzy?
Haven't you heard? Brizzy's the new Silicon Valley.
There you go. Tell me more.
No, look, Brizzy's been great. I think aside from the fact that COVID was handled really well in Queensland, or I guess that's debatable depending on which premier you ask. We had a lot of people wanting to move up to Brisbane in Queensland, so that was really great from a talent perspective, and certainly I think not necessarily sitting in the shadow of like Atlassian and Canva, who are obviously very prevalent in Sydney and Melbourne, is really helpful for new startups to be able to attract that talent and compete. It's a really hard space. So in Brisbane we found that's really enabled us to, I guess, shine with the likes of GoOne and Octopus Deploy, two other like really successful tech companies up there.
Angus, I see you're wearing the Queensland Maroon State of Origin T-shirt there, or colour at least. What does being a Brisbane-based startup mean to you?
I think it's about sharing that understanding that you don't have to go to Silicon Valley or Sydney, or there's several million people in Brisbane, and there's some amazing smart people there. So being able to have a place where they can put their thinking to work and designing solutions around it and building out a company from that.
We managed to convince our CTO to move back from the UK to the Goldie, so it's also handy.
Yeah.
$1 Billion Napkin is brought to you by Amazon Web Services. For over 15 years, AWS has helped more startups launch, build and succeed than any other cloud provider. If today's episode inspired you, with AWS Activate you can access free tools and resources to help you get started. Get up to $100,000 in AWS credits and start building with easy-to-use templates that allow you to launch your business idea in minutes. For more information, visit aws.amazon.com/activate. AWS. Prove what's possible. When did you realise we've actually got something here? What was the first form this took that was a working version of something that you could call Swyftx?
I've been asked that a few times, and my go-to response is when we were able to transition from Nutrigrain into our three veg and 5 fruits. Like that's how you know you've got product market fit.
Can you remember? But is there a first trade you facilitate? Is there a first sale of Bitcoin from someone or something that means, wow, we're going now?
Day one opening the doors, it was early 2019, but it definitely was not. Oh, we've hit the mark here. It's great. It was very much like that was it. Like, all the processes worked. We'd code it all up. The person could log in. They could get their account verified. They could go and make that trade. But it was like, that was a year of our life, and we've invested our life savings into it.
Well, just rewinding to what you said before, it was buy a house or quit our jobs and take our entire savings and invest it into building a business. Yeah. So a business that was going to take us 3 months to build that ended up taking 12. And when we launched it, it was at the bottom of the bear market, I guess. Bitcoin was very low.
12 months in the crypto world is forever. The currency during that time did take a major downturn, and you also started to see a degree of regulation or serious financial institutions starting to say we might do a bit here. Did the banks hate you guys or pay no attention to you at that stage? And what was that speed to get to market like?
I think they didn't pay, like the bank specifically didn't pay too much attention to us, but we weren't their most preferred customer, I guess. There's unfortunately those negative connotations associated with it, and so
that intensity of trying to have the product ready to go, you wanted it in 3 months and ended up taking 12. Must have been really demanding on the both of you.
Yeah, definitely. Angus obviously we have established is the tech guy, so he spent a lot of that time just absolutely grinding away on the keyboard. I spent a lot of the time working on those partnerships with the banks, literally getting on the phone, calling every European. There's so many more countries in Europe than I thought possible. Europe is a much more...
now, if you'd finished year 12, you might have known how many countries there were in Europe.
Yeah, my language studies, whoops. But yeah, look, certainly on the phone to... all these different banks, and they don't speak English, and trying to establish partnerships and looking at what other global exchanges have done. So
that's 3 years ago. You're in your early 20s then?
I'm 28 now, so right, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
so 24.
Is there a bit of pushback from anyone watching this going, with respect, you're a couple of kids?
Well, when you're on your phone, they got no idea how old you are, so you're all good. No, look, honestly, I think in the modern day and age, people almost expect tech founders to be young and young, entrepreneurial, ambitious people. So it's almost like the stereotype, I guess, that you have young founders building companies these days, and the industry is incredibly supportive of that, not just in crypto but across tech, and that's evidence as well. For us trying to provide that same, we feel old, I guess, now. There's new founders coming out of Brisbane that are 17 and 18. So
if a 53-year-old bald chubby guy like me goes in and says, I've got an idea for a crypto platform.
Oh, mate, don't be hard on yourself.
So when you get to market, that's not long before the pandemic. And we hear anecdotally that that's when crypto just takes off. There's a lot of people in Australia and around the world forced to be at home, some of whom have streams of money coming in that they didn't have before. We hear that a lot of people started speculating, the price went up. Was the pandemic like when the rocket ship really took off for you guys?
I think it was definitely a component of it. Like, before it even taken off, we were kind of sitting there. We all had laptops, fortunately, and we're like, how are we gonna go through this period? Are we going to be able to keep development up and keep pushing forward, make sure that we've got the customer service there at the forefront? And fortunately, it ended up being just as simple as everyone heading home. We sent each person like a multi-monitor setup, like a dock that they could plug in, and away we were going. And it was kind of the same thing. We had to set up, was it Tuesdays and Fridays? I think that we had an hour for getting together and having like a social aspect. I think we're playing games or board games or something like that online. Keep that real culture going, and I think that's been a fundamental kind of driver for our success as a Swyftx, the company.
I've read some things about the Swyftx culture, and it is like literally ball pit in the office that does sort of...
I was told I wasn't allowed that.
You fought.
Mate, check the floor plan. That's actually a storage room.
And the nightclub bathroom, whole thing. But there's that fun to work because you're working really hard is a part of the culture you're trying to encourage?
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit corny, but work hard, play hard is really what we see. Like, you've got to celebrate those wins, support each other going along the way throughout the challenges, and when you get to that next stage and you've passed the hurdle, it's celebrations all around, and everyone band together.
Alex, at the awards night that you won an award where I learned about Juice on the Loose, you said, quote, about the period of time, there's been lots of growth in leadership for Angus and I. How have you had to grow from these two mates who met at a computer school to had a good idea that sort of worked to now running an organisation that trades not in the thousands or millions, but sometimes in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars space?
Yeah, well, look, I think tying off on your growth question earlier, we went through I'm going to say 4 stages of a startup scale up, very quickly in 4 years, I think, So like a lot of businesses and a lot of leaders, I think, have time, like years, to sort of go through each of those stages and grow their teams and grow themselves and learn. But I mean, we just sort of did that on fast forward. So we went from an idea in January 2018 to launching January 2019 to having I don't know, a couple thousand customers in January 2020, and then by 2021 we had 50,000 customers, and then by the end of by the beginning of 2022 we're at nearly or just over 600,000. So like we've gone through the ideation, market fit, startup, scale up, just all super rapidly. So certainly from a leadership perspective, I think the hardest thing, also coming from a bootstrapped business, is that you go from literally sitting there at the dinner table on date night doing customer support chats with your girlfriend, like absolutely death staring you, to needing to build the thing that builds the thing that builds the thing that services the customers. So you have to really have this huge mindset. We've reorganized our org structure, I think, literally every 6 months to allow for autonomy, and we've been really focused on a bottom up approach on leadership. Like, it certainly works in a small organization, you need it. Someone who's really, I guess, steering the ship and making sure everyone's doing the right stuff. But then as you get bigger, that is your job. Your job is to build the infrastructure and the people and empower the people and hire people that are better, smarter, and more capable than you. We're the youngest people in our entire leadership team. Like, we're surrounded by old farts like you that have done it before, and have come from Commonwealth Bank or Deutsche Bank, XE. So like, we've got some really experienced people in our senior leadership team that we spend time with every single day to grow and learn from, and that's been how we do it, I think.
Sometimes they say don't go into business with family or really good friends because of the strain it will place. Yep. Has it been a benefit for you guys to be such close friends, or has there been times where the friendship has genuinely been strained?
I think we'd have to be kidding ourselves if we said there weren't like a rocky road along the way. But I think the key thing for us is just being persistent, like understanding we're in it for a common goal. We understand the problem. We're trying to strive to deliver this product, to service the customers, to make their experience just wow. And throughout all of that, you kind of see through, they're actually speaking the same, they're actually trying to go for that common goal, but speaking a different language to get there. Or, I think more times than I can count, we'll have a discussion and it's like, it's so frustrating, neither one's aligned on it. And then you kind of reflect on afterwards, like, I think he was saying the same thing as I was.
Alex, give me an example on the journey where you've really been challenged as a leader and perhaps thought, I don't know if I want to keep going.
I don't think there's ever been a moment where I've felt like I don't want to keep going. Like, I absolutely live and breathe and have since I was 10, the challenges. And what I love the most about what I do is waking up every day and being like, come at me.
What do you got?
What am I going to learn today? What problems am I going to solve today? And that actually is what, like, drives me so hard. And I think, my mum is always saying, like, I have no idea how you sleep at night. And I'm like, honestly, when I get stressed, I just go and have a nap. Like, it just makes me feel refreshed. You got a new focused view on the world, and you go for it. So, yeah, certainly, I think that's the sort of attitude you have to have as a startup founder. You just have to, I've had unsuccessful businesses before, and I've learnt from those. And you just got to get up and go again. And we've been incredibly successful.
Tell me a bit more about the dynamic of how you two interact as leaders? One of you is a bit more on the tech side, one of you is a bit more on the business entrepreneur side. How do the two of you work together?
I think the one word is complementary. So, as you mentioned, Alex, very strong entrepreneurial background, myself, very strong technical background. And for us, it was always about picking the problems that we were the ones to solve. And so, making sure that if it was, building out who's going to be hired into a certain role, 100% Alex's kind of foray. Back off, let him make the right decision on that front, and you can flip that in reverse for the technical stuff. How are we going to, have the sign up flow work? Great, there it is. The page is done for it. So, yeah.
What's the single skill of Angus's you look at most and go, gee, I wish I could do that?
His supercomputer brain, just all of it. But Angus and I have a fortnightly one-on-one for an hour, and that's about as often as we see each other these days. We just have such different responsibilities across the organisation now, with Angus such focused on tech and myself focused on, operational parts of the business.
On the technical side, what's the toughest it's got, Angus?
Particularly, it kind of coincides with the journey as well. Being bootstrapped, we were always needing to get that next revenue to be able to pay our staff, to make sure that we were paying bills, all that kind of stuff. And so as part of that, you don't have time. Your time is what your customers dictate to you, or the market dictates to you, and that kind of stuff. So from a technical aspect, being able to scale it without ever having that time to prepare for it has been the biggest challenge. Going from literally zero, building out a product that can actually generate revenue, and then making sure that it can continue to support your customer base through all of their trading things, because you can't let them down. You're dealing with people's finances, their investments. That's something you just can't screw up.
On the topic of scale, does working with someone like AWS prove a benefit? Because one of their real strengths is that speed to scale, scaling in minutes, not days. Knowing that technology's there behind you when you're brave enough to take the next leap, does that help?
100%. So coming into Swyftx, I hadn't worked with anything other than like FTP uploads or something like that, which is kind of, you don't really hear about that anymore. And so having to try and design the infrastructure that we were going to base our platform on was really awesome to be able to use these prepackaged tools that you can just grab out of the box from AWS and just spin them up. For us, it culminated into two different sectors. So first off was the AWS credit side of things. And so that was that allowed us to be able to pay for our infrastructure bills I think it covered us for 12 months or so of our entire cost there. So we were able to focus on other aspects or other costs within the business, like paying wages or software licenses, without having to worry about the infrastructure bill. And the other side of that was access to business support. So being able to have a technical account manager on call, literally, to be able to ring up and go, I've screwed something up, or something's not working as I was expecting it to, or we've got a challenge and we don't actually yet know how to solve this.
And I did a startup to scale up program in Brisbane, and AWS were a big part of that. And I'd say the thing that on the less technical side for me was just the amazing networks and introductions that I've had throughout that program, and the programs that AWS has supported has been certainly instrumental. Even now, our co-CEO now is someone that I met through those programs. So it's had a really positive impact from that perspective.
You were made an offer to sell a significant part of the organisation for, and I'll repeat the amount here, $150,000. When did that come in the storyline? And how close did either of you go to saying, I really think we should do this?
There's a story that came with that transaction as well, or the transaction that didn't go through. That was shortly after we launched. So obviously, we'd invested pretty much everything that we had into building the business, to the point that my grandmother, who is the opposite of someone who gambles, bought me a lottery ticket and said best of luck. So she still to this day thinks that I won it and didn't tell her. But yeah, sorry, Nan, just work my ass off. So yeah, we needed funding. We were very confident in our product. we looked at what other competitors had done during that sort of period that we were building, and we were still, we were like, 100%, we just need to get this out in front of people. We don't have any money left to do that, so, we need to find an investor to help support us get it out there. And we found some people and had a chat to them, and ultimately we decided not to go through with that, and we just focused on revenue. I think our first month of revenue was $80.
$80.
$80.
Now, as the mathematician in this group, that is less than $150,000. Yes.
Yes, and that was the result of 13 or 12 months' work as well. $80 in the first month. It was
we used to wake up in the morning. So we lived together. We used to wake up in the morning, and the transactions for the day would land every morning about 8 a.m. or something, and we'd run up to the study and we'd load the computer up, we'd refresh the screen, and nothing. So look, it was definitely a slow start, but what we did is we focused on revenue as a bootstrap business, and it's just really important. So we sort of went, okay, well let's do 100% growth every month. Yeah. So let's
we double had the whiteboard out.
Yep, we did the whiteboard, and 80, 160, 320, etc. And we thought, okay, at this rate, we'll hit August and we'll be making enough money that we can both. So I went and took a part-time job, and Angus stayed at home to write the code. But we thought, okay, by August, which is 7 months in, I'll be able to come back full time. We can take minimum wage and keep working on this. And I think we beat our modelling by a couple of weeks. Yeah. So it was pretty sophisticated stuff.
Let's have a look at the elephant in the room. There's been a massive correction in the crypto market over the last couple of months. You deal in 300 plus crypto assets. It's safe to assume that somewhere between some and a significant number of those will end up completely worthless. There are some really smart people who say, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, you've heard it all before, that this just won't last. What's it like working in a space where every day you must hear those sort of criticisms? Does it wear you down? Do you listen to those criticisms to learn from them?
You've always got to be receptive and understand, where people are coming from, because there are definitely, many people. I think if you ever think you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. For me, I think personally, it kind of aligns to the .com boom, or the internet, or those kind of things. People were a bit hesitant at the time. They're like, oh, bah. You were mentioning earlier, post is fine. Why will I need email? And yet, look at us today. Email is even kind of getting dated, I guess, and you've got instant messaging and that kind of stuff is now the new post. And for me, crypto is one of those things. Blockchain technology has got a lot of, I think, problems that it can solve in the future. I think we're still discovering just the tip of the iceberg of what that can be. And that aligns to most emerging tech is you have this thing. It seems good. You don't know what you're going to do with it yet. And then the community comes on board and I've got that problem. That fits the bill perfectly. And that's where you start driving that value.
It's been a wild ride up to this point for Swyftx. 12 months from now, where do you see the organisation, Angus?
Recently, we just announced a merger with Superhero. So what that means for both businesses is bring crypto into the, a digital asset into the traditional assets market. So that's equities trading in Australia and in the US, as well as super. So essentially giving people more a diverse ecosystem of investment options, crypto or equities, and going forward into the future, whether that's loan facilities or banking or any number of things. The sky is not even the limit, and particularly in crypto, we're always going to the moon. But I guess where we're heading is past that point, and trying to provide this all-in-one platform, easy to use, has that awesome customer experience and that customer support. We kind of pride ourselves as being customer obsessed. That's kind of our go-to. And so whatever it means for the customer to get value, that's where we're heading.
Yeah, look, we want to empower people to build their own financial success and freedom for whatever that means for them. I mean, when we reflect on why did we start this business, it was to not only just solve problems in the industry that we'd experienced ourselves, but to create an opportunity to build a business and to grow our own success. So how can we pay that forward and enable other people to do that? And that's where the fully inclusive financial ecosystem really plays a part in that. So we're just looking forward to a future where you can trade your Bitcoin straight into Tesla and vice versa.
Alex Harper, Angus Goldman, thank you so much for telling me about Swyftx on $1 Billion Napkin.
Thanks for having us.
Billion Dollar Napkin is brought to you by Amazon Web Services and hosted by me, Adam Spencer. Produced by the good people at Podshape, we were filmed on location at the Hollywood Hotel in Sydney.